What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Couch with Rob Fields. I'm your host, Rob Fields, and we're on summer vacation. All right, everyone. So, this is the final episode of our mini-series, The Couch with Rob Fields Summer Vacation. Today is a very exciting episode because I get to talk with an intelligent woman. I get to talk with a newly married woman. I get to sit and talk with a doctor, an author, and just an all-around good person. That's been the theme of this series. Like, I'm just talking with a bunch of good people. Do you know how lucky I am? And also, we're having a great weekend. If you haven't heard about the Couch with Rob Fields weekend, if you haven't heard about it, ask about it, okay? It's been amazing. But ladies and gentlemen, please give big hand claps to our guest for the day, the lady of the hour, Dr. Kendra Ham.
I guess I can clap for myself too.
Kendra, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, Rob, with the good knees?
So at their wedding, I basically put a hole in the dance floor because I was killing it, y'all. I was
really
killing
were.
it. So my nickname amongst Kendra and her friends is the guy with the good knees because I dropped it low. You know what I'm saying? But how's everything going? How's your summer going?
It has been great, especially now that I'm married. No more wedding planning. That part is done. No more single lady. Even though I technically wasn't single during the engagement or the dating part either.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
officially not single.
Okay. So listen, thank you for coming and being a part of the show. I love a good story, right? And I always feel that in order to get the most out of the story, we have to start from the beginning. Are you cool with that?
Yes, we're going almost 40 years back, huh?
We're going back to the
Okay.
tippy top. Yeah. All right. So tell me about young Kendra. How were you as a kid? What was young Kendra like?
Young Kendra was very shy.
Okay.
Like very, very shy.
Mm-hmm.
I would really just stay behind my dad. I was afraid to talk to people except for friends and family.
Yeah.
I was really smart and I felt like I was afraid to say things around people because I didn't want to make it seem like I was smarter than everybody. It can be a little tough sometimes.
You know what? I never understood. Like, I mean, now that I'm older, I'm looking back and I'm like, why did the smart kids get such a hard time? It's
No, but
like,
I know nobody wanted to be called a nerd. You wanted to
Yeah.
be the cool kid. I wasn't really the cool kid.
okay. Oh, yeah, I mean, for me, I think back on it and I say to myself, like, yeah, this why that he or she they're getting great grades. They're probably going to go to college and start businesses.
Right.
Why are we picking on them? Okay, so let me ask you this: did you come up with a medical ecosystem in your family? What was the dynamic? No doctors around.
No doctors. There was a distant cousin who was a doctor, but everybody was in education or some other type of career or job. No doctors, though.
Where did your passion for medicine start?
I think because I had an awesome pediatrician growing up, Dr. Wittenberg. He was one of the very few black pediatricians that I've ever even heard of
Okay.
up until this point
What state did you grow up in?
in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
South Carolina, upstate, Greenville. Not to be confused with Spartanburg.
Yeah, but we're from the real burg, Orangeburg.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So okay, so it started from your doctor, your pediatrician, way back, and you just said, "I want to be like Dr. Wittenberg."
Yes, Dr. Wittenberg.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point was there anything else that you were passionate about, or was it just strictly I want to learn science? I want to. What else did you do coming up?
I actually, and don't laugh, actually, because it's kind of funny.
Okay.
I was really passionate at first about being a cashier in the grocery store. I really wanted to work in Winn-Dixie.
Okay. They
So
do
that
have
was
the
the
check
first.
sodas,
I
you
know.
know. Yeah. Win Dixie.
Winn-Dixie. And then
Okay.
I asked for a cash register for Christmas one year. I think I was in first or second grade. So I got my first cash register, which was awesome. You know, it made sounds as you scanned your produce across the
Okay.
scanner. My brother was my first and only customer and ruined the whole experience for me.
Oh, did he like tear up the money and stuff like that?
He tore up the whole thing, the
Oh,
whole
okay.
cash register. It stopped working. He didn't ever want to pay for any of his produce or his groceries.
Oh,
So
he
I knew I was not meant for customer
he
service after
probably
that.
should have gotten you a cash register for your wedding gift.
He probably
That
should
would have
have.
been super cool. A cash register. Okay, so we're kind of progressing through the story. You get to high school. It's time for you to go to school. Did you have a lot of options on the table in terms of you had to pick whatever school that you wanted, or
I did.
okay, so where did you go and what drew you to that program?
Yes. So for college, I decided to go to the College of Charleston, which is in Charleston, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I had to choose between Clemson, Wake Forest, Duke, Emory, but Charleston.
You name it.
Well, Clemson was kind of difficult because my whole family went to Clemson. I'm the only person that did not go to Clemson.
Okay,
So people still assume that I went there, even though
at
I
least you
did
didn't go
not.
to USC.
Oh no, that I
You
did not
don't.
apply there. No,
Yeah,
that was not
you
happening.
don't want to be a pariah in the
No,
family.
absolutely not. No, I didn't want to be disowned.
Okay, okay, understood. Yeah, so what I want to get to is the process. So we talked a little bit about process before we recorded, and what I so we all see doctors at some point in time in our lives, right? We don't really get to know what's happening here. We just get to see doctors work.
Hmm.
So for you, what's how do you balance? Oh, excuse me. Before I go there, I want to go here. So I did my research, and I saw that you had an opportunity to present your research at Oxford.
I did.
Tell me about that because that's a big deal. Tell me about how that came about and what it meant to you.
Right. I did not think I was going to be selected because there are so many people that sent in their research to be presented.
Mhm.
But I was working on a project looking at the treatment of chlamydia in children.
Oh wow. Okay.
A lot of people don't think about children getting chlamydia, but that does happen as a result of sexual abuse.
Okay.
And there's not really a lot of research out there to make sure we're using the right treatments.
Okay. So you got to go to Oxford and say, "This is my research."
I did.
Excuse me. Did they give you a standing ovation when you finished? Not.
I don't know. No,
You just got
there's no.
you just got the job
I
done.
just got the job done.
Okay. So what we do know, even if we don't know the details of what goes into being a doctor, I think for myself, I know that it's a lot of studying, it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of just learning new terminology. I mean, new studies are coming out all the time. You have to
Yes.
adapt yourself to these new studies. Tell me about the balance. So that's where we're going now. So, how do you balance all of what's going on in your studying and your learning to your regular life? Because I mean, I'm sure you're not shooting medical terminology to your husband all the time.
Well,
How,
sometimes I do.
and what's his reaction? Huh?
Huh? Blank stare. What'd you say?
So how do you balance? Like, at what point did you find that balance?
So I felt like the balance was pretty easy in college. I was really busy, sorority, working.
Shout out to sorority.
Shout out to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. But then med school was a totally different picture.
Okay.
It was incredibly difficult. The first week, they give you this huge pile of notes and say you have to know all this by the end of the week. And I'm thinking, how am I supposed to get through all this? We have class all day. So during med school, I missed funerals, I missed weddings, which was really difficult for me, missed really important parts of friends' lives, lost touch with a lot of people because I just wasn't available.
And you were committed.
And I was committed. But I had to stay committed because I couldn't fail out of med school. So
Of course not, especially once you got so far into the process. Like, why quit now?
Right.
So discipline is really big for me too. Being a professional basketball player, I had to be disciplined. So of course I wasn't studying medicine, but I missed a lot of parties. A lot of friends didn't. The friends that I have now, they understand the dedication while I'm training 3 times a day.
Right.
It paid off. But when you're in it, those who don't really understand, they just won't understand. Like they can't fathom why you're not available. But it's like, listen, like I have committed myself to this process. Like I can't show up. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's hard, but you know, it's fair. That's if you want to be great at something, these are the things that you have to do. You have to sacrifice, right? Tell me, so like I said earlier, we're talking about process. Tell me about some of the mental challenges that you deal with. So you're in pediatrics, but you also are into you deal with a lot of abused children at certain points.
Yes.
Tell me about your mentality in approaching life when you're seeing so much every day.
Right. So I am board certified in both general pediatrics and child abuse pediatrics. There aren't that many of us that practice child abuse pediatrics full time, which unfortunately I practice that full time now. So every day, that's all I see, suspected abuse cases. So it can be really difficult. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is watching movies with my now husband. It's weird still. It's weird to say husband now still. But I enjoy watching movies. I enjoy playing the piano. I enjoy just quiet time, not thinking about work.
You just like stillness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I just need the TV off.
Yeah.
And no noise.
The reason why I asked you that is because I've talked to a couple people who have, whether it's social work or being a doctor in the ER, like all of that stuff. And what the conversation usually gets to is it doesn't matter if you're 7'2" or if you're built like a horse. Our shoulders aren't strong enough to carry on everything.
Right.
And in your field, you probably see some things that make no sense.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to children who are supposed to be protected.
Yes.
So, yeah, have you ever considered going into like getting a therapist? Is it to that point where you have to just like release, or do you just take it slowly?
So I have gone to therapy, actually. I haven't done it consistently, which I probably should. Sometimes we'll do debriefing with the other colleagues and we'll talk through cases. Okay. So that, you can kind of talk through it. Everybody can, make sure that you're doing okay. You can make sure they're doing okay. But it can be difficult because I can't, because of HIPAA, I can't tell my husband the details of some crazy case that I had that day. Yeah. I can just say I had a really tough case today. And there are times where I do cry at work in my office with the door closed.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with people, and I've been through some stuff in my life, and what it did was it helped me in the long run, because I learned that you can't hold that stuff in. Because if you hold it in, it's just going to become a ball, and then it becomes a boulder. And when it hits the fan, you're going to crash hard. So for me, I just learned, if I need to cry, I'm just going to do it. If I have something on my heart,
and don't
with
feel
my wife,
bad about it.
No, right. You can't feel bad about it, because I'm human, and that negative energy can just, like, some people can feel it on you when you walk in a room.
It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so now we're progressing through the story a little bit, Kendra. So we talked about school. We talked about your love for being a cashier. We talked about Dr. Wittenberg. Now we're going into this space. So, in your field, how do you deal with? So right, so we're going to love. Okay, so you recently married. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Uh, it was a great wedding, by the way, guys. It's amazing.
We know Rob with the good knees. All up on the dance floor doing the butt.
Tearing the house down. So we're progressing into love, Kendra, and this is what I want to ask you. So for you, was it important to find someone who was on the opposite spectrum of where you normally are? Because usually, if you're in a certain field, you will probably deal with other people in that field.
Right.
But for you, you have someone who is just fun loving and great energy. Was that important for you? To have someone to kind of counteract what you go through all the time?
That was very important. I didn't want to be with someone where we're talking about medicine all the time because that's what we have in common.
Yeah.
I do need my time away from medicine and talking about work.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be with someone who does something completely different than what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamic is amazing, and like I said, you know, when you're out here and you're trying to figure it out, like sometimes you just need someone to first make you feel protected, right? But also just to kind of ease the load, especially when you're doing a lot, right?
Yes, and to fix things, can fix things.
Okay, yeah, he can.
Yes.
Ceiling fans, everything.
Everything.
We're gonna get him to pass out some cards.
I know, right?
I'm telling you, he's
He can
the
fix
man.
everything. Everything he has touched in the house, the car, he has fixed.
Yeah. So this is also where I want to go with the conversation. So we talked a little bit about love, and you know, you are now married. You came out of the COVID year in love. Tell me some things you learned during that time, because there was a transition that happened. So you go from doing your normal job to now having COVID cases pop up. As a doctor, could you see that coming?
I did not see that coming.
Okay, so
I thought it was
your
truly,
peers, like,
I was like, this is just going to be like the common cold or the flu, and it's going to go away.
Yeah.
We'll be fine in a couple of weeks. 2 years later, here we are, and we are still in it.
So did you have to change to general medicine when all of the cases came in, or was it just like, okay?
No, what's interesting is I used to also work in the newborn nursery. That was my happy place with all the healthy babies being born.
Mm-hmm.
And they took me out of there completely to the abuse cases 24/7.
What? So that was the shift.
So it just got even worse.
Oh, so you go from dealing with those pretty little babies
I know.
to, you know, going into some hard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say was your takeaway from that moment in time? Because during that COVID lockdown year, it's almost like all of us could have a Netflix movie, you know, from a different perspective, right? Everyone has something. What are some things that you could take away from that time that you feel at this point made you better?
I really realized, and I knew this before, but I realized that life is short and tomorrow is not promised. And so you have to really enjoy the present and the people that you're around and the people that you love.
Yeah.
And make sure you spend time with them. So I really was keeping in touch more with my friends, which I hadn't been doing as much just from being busy, and that's an excuse. But that's the main thing that I took away is, you know, don't let that friend escape you and not find out how they're doing. Or that loved one escape you and not know how they're doing.